I'll cut the front off anyway. We're here at Endeavour, if you couldn't tell. I don't know if you've got a good view of the river from here. We could have maybe got one of the windows, do you?
Not downstairs, upstairs.
No, then we can't go up
Upstairs,
there. It's
bit
important
better.
stuff goes on up there.
Important stuff goes on upstairs.
Okay, so I don't even know what number we're up to now. I think this is 11, maybe.
You know how to make a girl feel special.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Of course. Hello everyone, my name's THERESA Carling. I'm a senior associate here at the Endeavour Partnership and I specialise in employment law.
Right, cool. So, first of all, I'm going to deal with you because that's the most important part.
Right.
Give us some context about a senior associate, where that sits and that kind of thing.
Okay, so I've obviously been in the legal profession for quite a long time. So a senior associate is effectively the step below partnership. So I'm just on that journey. So I've come through, I've been a solicitor, obviously a trainee solicitor, associate, senior associate now. And just looking ahead to that partnership prospect now.
Cool, okay. And that's kind of top of the tree, if you like. I know there might be different variations of partnership level as you get up with the business. That doesn't matter for the purpose of this video, but it's a process. You've got to get all the way through there.
Once you become a partner, then you're obviously part of the fabric of the company or the firm that you work with, and you become an owner of the business.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. And as far as Endeavour goes, tell us about Endeavour.
Well, I've only been here for just coming up for 8 months. I joined in January. It's a commercial firm. We are business lawyers. We don't do anything but business work. We have fantastic clients around the region, locally and nationally. And we're very busy today. We've got 2 completion meetings on this morning. So we've been relegated to this room.
Right. Okay.
Which is my favourite room because of the light.
I quite like this room, actually.
It's a nice room, but couldn't get the nice EP in the background that we would have.
That's it. It's much bigger than it looks on the film as well. There's loads of it. So, and you do a bit of everything in terms of all the disciplines of...
So the commercial sort of sector, we're thinking about things like commercial property, we're thinking about commercial litigation, we're thinking company and commercial, mergers and acquisitions, we're thinking employment work as well for employers. We've also got banking, and we're just dealing with all that kind of stuff on a day in, day out basis.
And you really don't do any personal stuff?
Not very much at all.
Not very much.
No.
Cool. Okay. The thing that I've noticed about the solicitors, particularly in this area, you guys are good at it, Tilly's are good at it, is getting people in young and bringing them up through the ranks. What have you been doing here for that?
Well, I think we've obviously got people that come in as apprentices, and they've done really well. They've ended up in really good, secure positions where they are valued members of our team. We've also had people that have come in as trainees who we've retained in the business, then become solicitors, associates and beyond. So all the way up to partnership level, it just shows that there is that progression planning in there if it was needed. And we recognise good talent and we want to keep good talent and we want to keep good talent in our area.
I think you've got a bit of a broad idea of other financial services part of bits of the industry, areas of the industry, and I think you guys do it better in law than anybody else in terms of bringing people in and keeping the talent going. I don't really see... Everyone does it to a certain degree. The bigger companies in the other areas of financial services are better at it because they've got the resource, but law seems to be really good at bringing new people in all the time.
Well, you have to be, because you've either got to do that or you've got to attract people from out of the area, and one of the big selling points for being here is that we have local people working in this business that are doing really well for themselves.
Yeah, that's cool. So what would you have to do? You know, we're kind of getting to the meat really early than I thought, but if you were 16, 17, 18, 19 and you fancied a career in law, and really fancied it, I don't just mean, you know, your dad had said be a lawyer, like my dad did, be a lawyer because he thought it was a good idea, even though I couldn't hack uni and I'm nowhere near
organised. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Steve, my dad said the same.
All right. Yeah, but you did it.
But I did it, yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
I said, I'd like a nice stable career, how do I get to that point? And he said, you can either be a doctor or a lawyer. And I said, well, if I was a doctor, that would probably mean operations and blood and guts, and I probably can't cope with that.
Right.
So tell me about what being a lawyer is. And I didn't really understand it at all as a concept because I was probably about 7. But ultimately, that's what I've always looked to aspire to and obviously become.
Right, and that's where you are. So
that's where I am. So starting out from sort of 16 the general route is that you would go and you would do A-levels at sixth form college. You would finish the A-levels, you would go on to university, you would do either a law degree or you can do a degree in anything you like, but then you have to do a conversion course. And then after that you do 2 years, you do a year at university, again doing a postgraduate course called a legal practice course. And then beyond that you've got 2 years in practice.
How many years was that altogether?
A lot. Let's think.
It's
So
a long
university
road, that,
is 3. If you do the conversion course, that's 4. And some degrees are 4 years.
Yeah.
Some degrees will also have the legal practice course as well as part of it. So Northumbria does that.
Right, okay.
So that's 4 years. Then you've got 2 years in practice. So 6 years, generally speaking.
Right, okay, so there's a bit of patience required there.
Yeah.
For certain, if you're going to go and do it.
Yeah.
And some money involved nowadays.
Yeah, it is quite expensive. I'm not sure how much the legal practice course costs, for example, but I think I heard someone say the other day it was about 14 grand.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So you've got to sweet talk the bank into lending you the money
That's
to not only go to university, but then to go on beyond that.
That's it. So you could go and do that from 16 or 18, 16 when you like leave school, if you like, you've still got to be in education, you can bounce on and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But is there another route? Is there, come here, get a traineeship?
There can be routes in like that. I know for me personally, when I first started out, I decided after I'd finished at uni that I would get a bit more practical experience before I started looking for a training contract, because the training contracts are really where the competition hots up. There's a lot of people going for training contracts locally, nationally, and firms, it's not unheard of to get thousands and thousands of applications. It's a really competitive field.
And how many did you give out here, just out of interest?
We give out 4 every year.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's slim number. That's like the chance of being a professional footballer. On a micro scale.
Possibly. But like I said, I took a slightly different route in that I finished at uni, then had a look about and thought, what can I do with the degree? So I worked as a paralegal.
Yeah.
And I did that for a couple of years. Doing that was really helpful because ultimately when it came to applying for a training contract, I was a much more valuable piece of equipment for a law firm to deal with because I'd had that experience and exposure. So when I eventually did come to training, I got a commercial firm to pay up and pay for my legal practice course.
That's class. That's
and give me the day release to go and do that part-time while I was training.
Good example of them bringing people through again, like you've been
Yeah.
saying. So I think it's a bit of a balance. You're right. It's something that I say a lot to a lot of young people is you need something on your CV. You need to look more interesting. If you're going to beat the let's say there was 2,000 people applied.
Yeah.
There probably isn't, is there?
I really wouldn't know.
No.
Sorry.
But let's say there was 500, 2,000. It doesn't really matter. And that you're going to give out 4 training contracts. Presumably that's 1 in each department.
Yeah,
And everyone rolls around. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly
so you
how
get
it
exposure
works.
to everything. It's a good guess, wasn't it?
It was good, yeah.
So, I'm not really good at that either. So if you're going to do that, you're better off maybe in the summer between year 10 and year 11, and maybe the summer between year 11 and college, doing something.
And again, we take on a lot of work experience placements here. And again, even that's a competitive process.
But it is. So you're not just going to get in, like, you wouldn't have looked at me if I'd have sent my CV
Wouldn't have
in,
looked at you.
you'd have been like, and even knew all that already. No, I'm not having you. Like, and it's right. So if you want to do it, that's probably the best way into to show willing, get involved, come here and work for free. I keep talking about people working for free, but
It's a killer.
like I've said a million times, if you come and work for a business, if someone, a young lad or a young girl, gets to come work with you for a week, they should be paying you. If they want to be a lawyer and they get to witness, I know it sounds
It's
really
as
weird,
awful as it sounds.
as a value exchange.
Yeah.
Imagine what they'll be exposed to spending a week with you,
Yeah.
and it could be a week. If you've got a busy time, or is it busy all year round? Is it like?
It's just starting to calm down a little bit now. Everyone's on holiday
Right.
from the employment side of things. But that still doesn't mean that there is a quiet time.
Right, so I get the same this time of year for me. July and August, all of our clients go on holiday, so there's
Yeah,
nothing to
hence
do.
the reason this is when we always have work experience people in.
That's
So we've currently got work experience people in for the whole of the summer holidays.
Right, exactly.
Different people each week.
Wow.
So it's really good.
Yeah, so I guess that's the route. If you're serious about it, that's what you're going to go and do. And if you're not serious about it, get something worthwhile on your CV, come here, somewhere like this, do a work experience. If you really don't like it after a week, you could walk in here and spend 4 days and think, I'm not doing this. I wouldn't want to do what Theresa does for a living. I mean, who would say that? You know what I'm saying?
But no, it's not just that. I think as well from other firms that I've worked in, people come in at a really, people come in with degrees doing a secretarial job, and you might think, wow, what a waste of resource. That is incredible, really, for somebody to walk into an admin job and dictate, deal with dictation and typing and documents. But to literally walk in from university, even after some of them have done the legal practice course, so they've spent a fortune getting to that point, and then to come in as a legal secretary. But then there is that opportunity to work up. You'd work from secretary to paralegal, to then trainee solicitor, to then solicitor, and obviously beyond that.
Before you realise what's happened, yeah.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate, but that seems to be the way of the world. There seems to be a lot of try before you buy.
Yeah.
And that's certainly true, I think, in certain firms for the legal profession.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it is tough, but I think
it.
you've got to be self-aware enough and be patient enough. If it's really what you want to do, you've got to do it. If you'll find out quickly if you don't want to do it. When you get sick of sitting as a secretary and you're not happy with what you're doing and you've spent all that money on a degree.
And at that point, obviously, you've become someone with a bit more value and you've had that experience, and it's quite easy for you then to move on or move across.
Yeah, go on to something else.
And yeah, I've seen people that have come in secretarial level or even into a completely different job think, yeah, the law is what I really want to do. And then they've gone to do their ILEX qualification, which is the Institute of Legal Executives. Okay. And that's another route in to the legal profession where you're a fee earner working in the law on a daily basis.
Right, cool.
Well, you've met Nick, haven't you, Nick Dent, from here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick's a chartered Institute legal executive. I hope that's right. Sorry, Nick, if it's not.
Okay. I'm sure he'll correct us if it isn't. You'll see.
Absolutely, he will.
I'm certain. I'm kind of at crossroads now because I don't know whether I want to go and talk about your history or you. I think we'll talk about ladies first here. I think that's important.
First, yeah.
Now, I don't know if you watched the interview with Lisa. It's easily the most difficult one I've had to do. Emily's was a bit easier. I'm trying as much as I can to extract the role model type information for the young girls without sounding sexist. I'm really worried about, do you know,
Well, as an employment lawyer, I'm sure I'll keep you right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah, I'm going to be really careful.
Done a few sex discrimination cases over the years.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to be right. Tell me if it sounds wrong, but my intention,
Okay.
my heart's in the right place.
I'm worried now. I'm worried
my
for
heart's
you.
in the right place. So as a region, just talking about Teesside, what's it like in terms of women versus men? In terms of numbers, generally in the legal profession and at the kind of more senior levels?
So generally speaking, there are more female solicitors in the legal profession. Okay. I think we tipped the balance about a year ago. It's 50-something%, 53% I think women to men.
Okay, cool.
But once you do start climbing the ranks, and this is just generally as a national picture, you do find that there are fewer and fewer women that reach those senior posts.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is obviously women have time off for kids, they have that career break, they then find themselves having to compete against guys that are the same age as them that have had, say, 2 years more experience because they've taken time out to have a couple of children. Yeah. And it's very difficult to kind of get that time back. Right. So it is difficult, and it is something I think that law firms are conscious of because a lot of women were leaving the profession. And you think of the time it takes and the expense that's incurred getting to that point.
To then have a child and leave.
To then, have a child and then somebody say, well, you've got no ambition there then. This is a decision that you've made. Difficult. Yeah, you've made a decision to have some time out and have a child, so therefore
you obviously don't
be penalised as a result of it.
That's not right.
It's not. I've blatantly heard it with my own ears in the profession. Thankfully, not here, but I have heard somebody say that thought there was more ambition in that particular individual, and the fact that they've decided to take time out to have family means that they're effectively taking themselves out of the equation for a better job.
That's what I liked about Lisa's interview when she talked about that, about being a mum and business at the same time. I think that's quite cool. That you can do it. It's probably not the easiest thing in the world. I bet you've got to have a decent support network around you and that kind of thing.
Well, I rely heavily on family and childminders. And I'm very fortunate in that my husband's a PE teacher, so he gets some holidays off.
Yeah, she's
So
awesome.
I'm kind of looking around at my friends that are struggling for somebody to look after the children during the school holidays, and I'm like, yeah, I made the right decision.
Yeah,
I didn't.
he's at home with the kids doing the fun stuff. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, he's doing the fun stuff, which is another way of looking at it. Yeah.
But like me, you don't get any cheap holidays, right?
Definitely no cheap holidays.
Excellent. Yeah.
It's not excellent.
So, in terms of how that works, then on T side, bring it back to
here.
kind of a micro thing, is we have a lot, and there's nothing wrong. I've said this in loads of videos. I don't want to be like, I don't want no one to get the wrong idea. It's old grey guys make the world go round at the moment, and without them, everything would be very different, right? But they're a lot of the people who own the businesses or run the businesses or make the decisions here in Teesside. There's a lot of old money, and that's just the way it is. How does that map against being a woman or a senior woman in business? Do you find it? I think most people are quite accommodating. In honesty, but
you see fewer of the grey-haired people around. I mean, particularly here, it's a pretty young firm.
Yeah.
The people that are in those senior key roles, they're the kind of people that you'd want to speak to on a night out. They're the kind of people you'd want to go for a pint with.
Yeah.
There's not really that barrier of, we can't really speak to you because you're a woman, or we don't respect your work because of the fact that you're a female. There's none of that, as there shouldn't be.
And it will go on places.
But I'm sure it does go. I mean, we wouldn't be in business in employment law, I guess, if people were treated favourably and equally all the time.
Yeah.
Because there'd be no one with an axe to grind then, would there?
Fair point.
Yeah, I suppose. Keep on being horrible. It keeps me in business.
Keeps you. Yeah, exactly. So how do you find it then in terms of, because Lisa made a good point about this, and she might have referenced you when she said it, maybe.
Possibly.
How do you find it in terms of networking and doing business with men as clients?
Yeah, I love it. I'm very outgoing anyway. I'm kind of renowned for having quite an outgoing personality.
Right.
I'm not frightened to talk and speak my mind, and I like speaking to people. I'm just interested in people. I guess that's part of the job that I do, because you've got to have that interest, I think, to keep that going through. But I've always found the guys around in the area absolutely perfect. They've always been gentlemanly, and they're a right good bunch.
Yeah.
There's issues regardless of sex, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's
Plenty of other things to worry about, whether or not someone's male or female.
Dead right.
If they're sound, aren't they?
Yeah. But I'm thinking about girls that are sat now behind a desk at 15 or 16 thinking, I've been told, Emily mentioned it on her video. Yeah. She went to be a typist when she was at school or college or whatever it was, because that girls went to be typists. Oh. The thing that now you've seen me do these 3 lists with the groups I do every September. What job do you want to do? Actually, I won't spoil that because that comes later. I ask them what job they want to do. Yeah. And we always get the guys want to write down bricklayer, joiner, welder, because Uncle Kenny did it. Yeah. And the girls always want to be teaching assistant, work in a care home, or something like that. Maybe admin apprentice, or because that's a bit of a fresh thing again now. Yeah. Now, I want to caveat that with all of those are good jobs.
Of course.
There's nothing wrong with any of those things. That you can make good money doing those. And I always give examples of people who started out as a bricklayer or a welder and then went on to own a company, and you can do fine. Yeah. But there's other things you can do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my point of view, I was never told that it would be a barrier for me being female. And whilst there was nobody in my family that was in the legal profession, there were people around and about. There were men, largely, that I kind of thought, I wouldn't mind doing his job. And I went on work experience and went with a criminal solicitor, and that was really interesting. Okay. Obviously not for me, living in the corporate world that I do now, but fascinating stuff. Went to watch a man with a spider tattooed on his neck go down for murder was an interesting introduction to the legal profession.
Yeah, I bet it was, yeah.
But again, it doesn't... I think a lot of that must be down to the fact that there aren't that many role models around.
I think that's what we're missing a little bit.
And if you're from a family, I mean, like I say, my mum's never worked, apart from a stint as a hairdresser, as an apprentice, and then obviously she had me, and that was it. My dad looked after her.
She was a full-time...
So she's always been a full-time mum.
Okay.
So it's quite funny because she doesn't really understand a lot about the obligations that I've got or why I would be bothered about certain things. Yeah. She's just kind of living in a world where it just includes sort of budgeting and shopping and booking holidays.
Fair enough.
which is all good.
Sounds nice.
Which is
I'll do
all
a swap
good.
if you want.
But she's always encouraged me to try and plough on and do well.
That's good.
Without kind of really having that background to knowing anything about the legal profession. Yeah, same my dad didn't either. It was, my dad's an electrical engineer.
Right.
Nothing at all to do
For
with the legal
himself
profession.
or for someone else?
For himself, but working as a company for various people, yeah.
Cool.
But he's just retired, so...
Good on him.
But that's the thing, isn't it? If you kind of pick a profession out that you want to do, you'll find a way of getting there. I've always been quite hard-working and sort of keen to pursue my goals, I guess.
Do you believe, this is really general, do you believe that people get what they want?
If they want it, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
I think if they actually want it.
Yeah. I mean, if you want it and you've got the tools to get there, so there's no point in sort of setting out down a massive academic journey of becoming a solicitor.
Yeah.
If that's not your strength is in something else.
Self-awareness is enormous.
Absolutely. And again, I've been into schools and spoken to kids and talked to them about what I do, and some of their eyes glaze over and some of them are really fascinated by what I do. And that's cool either way, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah. And you're weeding out the people that don't want to do it, and that's really what you're there for.
Yeah.
To give them the insight into what they do or don't want to do.
Yeah.
I want to just ask what you do day to day, and then we'll get on to your kind of routine. But when I say day to day, will you break it down? I don't want to know all the... Maybe if it's interesting, tell us about some things if you can. But how much is BD? How much is technical? How much is management? All that kind of thing.
It's a massive mix of everything, like you've just said. So I've got a lot of involvement with people that work here, which is great. So some management issues and some discussions with people I manage from time to time. Act as a mentor as well, and to less experienced fee earners that work with me.
Yeah.
So they can ask me any questions that they want, and we can have a discussion about what might or might not be the right answer. On top of that, just general stuff. So I advise a lot of clients. I usually get telephone calls like, we've had someone here for 23 years, can we sack them?
Right.
And I'll say why, and they'll say poor performance, and I'll be like, but for 23 years?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm obviously just
Generalising.
joking, and I'm joking there, but there's a lot of interplay with clients, meeting clients, speaking to clients, dealing with issues that come up and challenges that they're dealing with at work. It might be a redundancy situation, might be somebody that isn't performing.
Yeah.
It might be somebody whose employment needs terminating, or they just need some general hand-holding through advice on maternity leave or something like that.
Does it go the other way, just out of interest? Would someone ring you up and say, I'm hiring for the first time? In an ideal world, would that happen?
In an ideal world, people would at least start with some decent paperwork.
Yeah.
So they'd come in and they'd say, we need some employment contracts. But often, that's not how companies start. Often when it comes down to taking on your first employee, it's almost like a stress purchase.
Yeah.
So they get people in through the door that they think are going to be okay. And then 6 months down the line, the employer will be saying, I've been here for 6 months now and you've never bothered to give me an employment contract. And that's when I get a call sometimes.
Right, okay.
But it's easy. A lot of businesses have mushroomed lately, and it's great to see.
Yeah.
But the nuts and bolts of it sometimes get left behind,
Yeah.
and that's obviously when I get the call.
Yeah.
We'll sort this out.
Yeah.
We can make that happen.
It's good. It'd be interesting if you got the other stuff at the front end as well, people set up, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there is some of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of ad hoc advice with the various contacts that I've got.
Yeah.
So you mentioned business development earlier. I think I'm reasonably well known on Teesside because I do go out and I do network. And I also think social media is brilliant for raising profile and
definitely.
awareness. And so I use LinkedIn and Twitter for work purposes, and that's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm often doing something exciting. I often get some comments on things like Twitter from various people who I'm sure are just jealous about my most recent sort of trip out somewhere, or
that's it.
golf day here and there.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, a lot of golf. I've seen that.
Not that much. Not enough.
You're meant to be quite good though, aren't you? Is that right?
That's Lisa. That's
Is it?
Lisa just being kind.
Really?
Yeah.
Or is that you being really modest and confident about your ability? You're actually amazing.
No, I'm not amazing.
Okay.
I'm not amazing.
I'll come watch one day. Because I can't play. I'll drive the car and
okay.
get the beers and stuff.
Yeah, it's an important job.
It is, especially when
Very
you can't play. Just before I go on and talk about, what have you got here? it's just interesting because of the job you do. How realistic is it, and how good an idea do you think it is for maternity leave to be shared between the father and the mother? I don't know how the mechanism would work, but would that be better from a woman's point of view?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Because you would think, well, there's different sides to it. There's the one side which is it's a brilliant idea because it stops women being looked at as though you're going to recruit somebody at a certain age if they're of an age where they might be settled, and you think, oh, they haven't got children yet. Likelihood is that's going to happen on our watch.
Yeah.
And I do think that's still in the back of employers' minds when they take you on. Definitely. Thankfully, I'm over all of that now. But but yeah, there's definitely an element of that. So I think it would help to sort of rebalance it, and I think that was the whole purpose of it in the first place, to try and say, have some time with your own child, whether it's an adopted child or whether it's your own child. Take some time to get to know the child, but share that between mum and dad. Yeah. Great idea, but nobody's doing it.
And the logistics is quite difficult because you'd have to get the agreement between the two companies, I suppose.
Well, the logistics of it aren't that traumatic.
Aren't they?
No, not really. Provided that obviously the mum and dad have made a decision, there's then various notification requirements to the employers to let them know who's doing what. Yeah. So it's not difficult to administer, but I think it's got something like 2 or 3% take-up rate. So that's not really going to go that far to redressing the balance, I don't think. It's
a bit of a shame, really, because it is. And I understand it wouldn't suit everyone, maybe.
No.
But, would you have taken it? Is that a bit personal? You don't have to
No. Would I have taken it? Well, it depends.
Quality time with...
It depends, doesn't it? In some respects, I think, well, it's only right and fair that somebody that's had 9 months of carrying a child around to then have 9 months at the other end. But I never took that long maternity with either of my two children anyway, because I was too worried that I'd miss out on something. Yeah. And I didn't want my clients to go, oh, well, she's not available anymore, we'll go elsewhere. So, I don't know. I don't know whether it is a break, to be honest. It's quite funny to call it like maternity leave as being a massive break, but you think about...
It's not time off.
That's not time off. No, it's not like having a holiday when you're on your own.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Thanks for talking about that.
No.
I didn't know if that was a bit... I'm really worried about being too personal with the...
Oh, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Good. You can tell me if I am. So, when I came here the first time a couple of months ago, you told me all about how you got from school to here.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't need to go all the way to here, but how did you get into the profession? Because that was a bit of a journey, wasn't it?
I think like a lot of people, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that there were certain steps to get there, but certainly I sort of did my A-levels and went to uni and came out of uni and thought, right, what am I going to do now? And I didn't think to myself, I'll go straight in for a training contract, because I knew at that point I don't think I'd have been that attractive a proposition. Right. So it made more sense for me to work in the profession as a paralegal, to get that experience before I then start to apply for training contracts. And ultimately, it was the most beneficial thing that I could have done. Ended up walking into a training contract with a cracking commercial firm. I got paid nearly twice what I would have been paid as a trainee solicitor normally, because I was recognised as a valuable fee earner. Because I'd had loads of experience by the time I'd got there, I applied for 2 training contracts and got offered 2 training contracts.
Excellent.
But the one that I plumped for was obviously the one with a good whack.
Yeah.
Salary, hello.
Yeah.
And they also paid for my legal practice course.
Amazing.
So, when it came down to it, my mum and dad weren't flush on spending money on, fees for university or putting me up in accommodation and all that kind of jazz. So I had to work part-time all the way through. And I remember even doing my finals at university, I was working in a golf club bar. And because it was a busy time of the year when a lot of people had taken holidays, I was literally working in the bar the night before I was sitting a 3-hour exam the next morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to take my textbooks in, and they used to like a cubby hole off the bar area. Sitting there and kind of spot up. Or do like an assignment, and then someone would want a drink, and then they'd be like, Theresa.
No way.
Like, oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you were at a golf club when you were younger, so that's where your skills have come from.
I wouldn't.
There's
have
no
said so,
no convincing anyone now that you're not.
No,
good at
I'm not good. Please don't think
not
otherwise.
having it.
I've been a beginning golfer for the last 20 years.
that. Right, I'm not having it.
It's
Sorry.
true.
No.
It's true.
Not having it. So so that's how we did all of that.
Yeah.
Then you presumably passed all those the way you expected. How long did it take you to then take the next step?
So when I was training, so I was partway through my training contract and I fell pregnant with my first daughter.
Okay.
Which
Do you want to say how old you were or not?
no.
Okay, fine. You don't have to, don't worry.
Alright, my daughter was born a week before my 30th birthday.
Okay, cool.
So I'd kind of, because I'd done that paralegal work beforehand, I'd kind of delayed what is normally, people walk out as qualified solicitors at about 25.
Right.
I think I was 27.
Okay.
No, in fact, that can't be right, can it? No, I must have been 30 when I qualified as a lawyer.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly that. So, yeah, so that was an interesting sort of development.
Yeah.
I remember having to rush out of client meetings and stuff like that in the early stages of my pregnancy and people going, oh, is she all right? I can't tell you that I'm having a baby, but that's what's going on. And it had a slight knock-on effect in terms of how long it took me to qualify, but it wasn't that significant for me to say I'm going to hold off.
Okay.
Because I kind of have very set ambitions in life, and one of them was I'm going to have a baby before I'm 30.
Right.
And that literally happened 8 days to spare.
Wow. Okay, squeeze it in. Right.
So that happened.
Well done.
Helped that she came on a due date.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what that really proves is that it didn't hamper where I needed to get to.
No.
It might have taken a bit longer.
Yeah.
But it didn't ultimately prevent me from qualifying and then going off and being able to work in a profession that I wanted to, in the job that I wanted to, in the area of specialism that I wanted to. So I was never going to do anything but employment law.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really what you...
Couldn't imagine being a conveyancer or...
Really?
No, I love the human aspect of employment too much.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
To have such a, like...
And as soon as I studied employment law at university, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Because it's just so interesting and it's all about people.
And it grabbed you and that was it after
And that was it after that. Yeah,
There's no way you would have even considered anything else.
But you have to do
Yeah.
other departments
You've
as
got to
part of
bounce
your
around
training.
inside.
You've got to bounce around, as you call it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do seats.
Yeah.
So I did do bouncing around, but I was always most comfortable
Wow.
in employment.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's where I am and that's where I've stayed and that's where I'll always be.
Cool. Awesome. Going back to having kids for 1 second, if you don't mind.
It's okay.
The only thing... One thing that we get quite a bit with some of the young girls we work with in the charity is that they want to have a family. And there's always reasons behind that, and they're very understandable. I'm going to be really careful how I say this. A lot of the time, it feels like that's the only ambition, to do that maybe quite young. Not necessarily young, but that's the main goal. It's really cool when people like you can say that, yes, you wanted to have a child.
Absolutely, yeah.
And even very specifically within a time frame.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's fine too. But you can actually do both. You don't have to not have a career because you want a child.
No, I mean, when I went to university, I went with a lot of mature students as well.
Okay.
And some of them were people that had their kids quite young and then ended up in a job that perhaps wasn't as fulfilling as they wanted. So they'd gone back to university and done a law degree to see if that took them on a different journey, which is fine. But I knew for me that I was definitely not ready, or I didn't have the skills or the equipment or the money to have a child when I was blooming heck at sixth form college or whatever.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Which is absolutely cool. Some people do, some people don't. But
some people aren't that self-aware, and it comes the other way.
Yeah. I mean, if that had happened, then God knows what I'd have done. But you just kind of get on with it, I guess. But like I say, there was still that option. If that was absolutely what they wanted to do, then they could go back to it. But I knew that for me, it had to be career first.
Yeah, I think it's important to figure out what they are, and if the most important thing is for a young girl to have a family and do that at 16, 17, 18, like, we're not in a position to judge whether or not that's right, wrong, or indifferent. all I want to be able to make clear to them is you can do both.
Yeah.
You did both. Lisa's doing both.
Yeah.
You're doing both.
Yeah.
I don't know what the age difference is, and I don't necessarily want to go into it. I don't mean between you two. I mean between your kids.
Yeah.
But you can do both. It might be hard. It'd be hard without a support network, I guess.
Yeah.
Without people around you.
Yeah, it's important. But again, it's just recognising that there will be limitations on you if you don't have that support network. When I was training, I was over in Blackburn.
Right. Yeah.
So I was over in Lancashire, at the offices there, and I didn't have that support network. My network there was my friends.
Right.
So it used to be awful in a way because Josie was in full-time nursery.
Yeah.
I was at work full-time. And then if she was poorly, then they'd kick them out of nursery, you know, they're not very well, sniffles and stuff. And I used to rely on my friend that had her own garden centre.
Right.
And her little boy was born at a similar time to Josie. And it was pretty bad really, because I would say, oh, I know that your son is in nursery at the moment, but is there any chance that you can have Josie because she's being kicked out? And she'd be like, yeah, bring her here.
No way.
So she was my support network.
Yeah, that's cool.
And another friend of mine, my best friend over there as well, she was the same, and we'd just have to kind of dig in to help each other out. Because obviously my parents weren't there, and my daughter's dad's parents weren't there either, so that was interesting.
Wow. Cool.
And hard, because they pick up everything when they go to nursery.
Yeah.
It's just
that's a
constant.
That's a really cool insight. I hope that would be one of the bits that gets cut down for definite.
Yeah.
I like that, because I don't know, that all we're trying to do show young people, young girls in particular, what they can actually go and do, and that, you know, their ambition can be as big as they want it to be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you ever envisage being? I'm just going to check the time. We're doing all right. Did you ever envisage getting this? I know the answer. Did you ever envisage getting to this level?
Yes.
This is happening.
That was,
yeah.
It was
and the next level too.
And the next level, yeah. It's a journey, isn't it? And if you can kind of see yourself doing something, I always think you'll find a way to get there.
Yes.
So even if, even if I'd failed my A-levels, I'd have resat them.
Yeah.
And I'd have continued on that path.
Yeah.
I think ultimately there was just no way that I was going anywhere else. Because
amazing.
That was what I wanted to do.
Amazing.
I don't think it's amazing at all. I think if you
it
just,
is. I'll tell you.
I just knew what I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, it's not been a completely unexpected journey. I've had to make sacrifices, and sometimes you find yourself doing something ridiculous at a ridiculous hour at night or in the morning, or you're doing something on a Saturday night or a Saturday afternoon that you'd probably rather not be doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, you've got to make those sacrifices to achieve those ambitions, and I'm more than happy to do that, because I know that's what you need to do.
If you want to get to where you're going to go, that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you...
Everybody else is doing it as well, so you can't sort of say, well, I'm not going to do that, particularly where you've got a culture of that within wherever you're working. It's like, we all do this. Yeah,
and I've said this a whole load of times, and there's a lovely woman in the education profession who now quotes this, because I told her it once. You've got to map your actions to what you're trying to achieve, and I'll get to that when I get to one of the last questions at the end. So if you want to get to this level or the next level, your actions have to be that on Saturday afternoon if something's going on, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
Now I know someone who used to finish work at 4 o'clock, and if you get kept over till 1:15 on a Friday to tidy the yard, that'd ruin his weekend.
Crazy.
But he wanted to go 3 levels above where he was, and I'm thinking, you're just not going to get there.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? If your ambition matches your work ethic, then you're going to do all right. I mean, you'll. I don't know if you know. Do you know Sharon Starkey? Resolution Communications.
No matter.
Yeah, she's a great girl. She might be a good one for you next, actually.
Amazing.
But we often have a conversation about that, about work ethic, because we're both quite driven. Yeah. And we've both done okay out of what we both wanted to achieve, and it's very much about, well, you've got to put the work in to get to where you need to get to.
That's right.
And if that means there's the odd obstacle in the way, having a baby might be classed as an obstacle. You know, needing to resit some exams. Again, it didn't happen to me, but I know other people it's happened to. If there is that obstacle or that barrier, then you've just got to find some way of overcoming it, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And it's only bloody mindedness and work ethic that'll get you there. When everything else fails, if you've got that drive, I mean, Bill Scott's a really good example of it.
Yeah.
If you've got the drive, you've got the ambition, you'll do it.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of Sharon Chapman from the Started Company said it best. She totally took a 40-minute story that I tell in schools and consolidate it into like an 8-word sentence or something like that. And that's what she said. If you want it that bad that you can taste it and you go to bed thinking about it, you won't have to think about mapping your actions to it. You'll just do it.
Yeah.
And she has it with a specific example of something she got. I have it with something that I got when I was younger, which everyone's heard about. It's the first car that I bought myself.
Yeah.
I remember saying to my dad, I'm going to have one of them. And he said, nah, you'll never afford one of them. Never, not until they're old and knackered. And I got one within a year of saying that. It was the year the Audi A5 came out, and I was just determined. I'd only just started working that year, and I was determined to get one, and I did it. And
well, that's it, isn't it? Work ethic, drive.
Yeah, and know what your goals are. So that kind of leads us to it, to what I'm going to ask you. There's 2 questions at the end that everyone answers exactly the same. The 3 lists I was talking about: what job do you want to do? What do you like doing outside of school? And yeah, so I'm not going to ask you that. And what do you want out of life? And I get the kids to write down these 3 lists, and it really makes no difference what's on them because they can change and all that stuff changes as you go through life. The job thing doesn't really matter so much. What you do out of school doesn't really matter so much, but what do you want out of life is important. Because I don't think many people have really thought about it. I don't think many adults have totally thought it
No,
through.
you've thrown me.
Yeah. So could you? It's weird. I've only just started this recently, but could you give me a list of 5 definitive things now that you're in pursuit of?
No.
No. So and it's weird, but I keep a list of that all the time.
Do you?
And it changes all the time, because sometimes I achieve things, sometimes I decide things actually didn't matter as much as I thought they were going to be. When I was 18, it was definitely having the most money of everyone that I could see around me. Wow. Working harder than everybody else, having better clothes and cars and watches. Actually, I'm not into watches, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And at the time, I was happy that I accomplished that. Now it makes no difference to me at all. I don't care what I wear or anything like that. I get these for £3 on Amazon. You know, things change, don't they? The things you want change.
Priorities change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that people don't do it, but young people aren't doing it. They don't really know what they, know, so they drift. And I talk a lot about process, and there is a question at the end of this, I promise. I talk a lot about process. Process is a substitute for thinking, or can be easily a substitute for thinking. This is what we do. So if it fits in the boxes, it's fine, and it comes out with the machine at the end and it works. But if it doesn't quite fit into the boxes, process substitutes the thinking of the individual doing it, and it gets fucked up along the way. Comes out and it's the wrong shape or the wrong colour or the wrong size. I think it's important for young people to know where they're going and be self-aware enough and confident enough to rebalance those. So I remember talking to someone about a business plan and saying, have a strategy and rebalance around it. Don't abandon the strategy if it doesn't work, because it's probably right. Yeah. It just will happen a lot slower than you think it's gonna. So you've got to rebalance around it. So,
similar, yeah.
How would you, or what are the things that you're in pursuit of now? They might be ridiculous. It might be, I say to the young people, you might want a helicopter, you might want a swimming pool in your back garden.
Oh,
you might
nothing
want a job.
materialistic.
No, you know what I'm saying, though. Like, you might want a family, you might want this, you might want that. What is it now that you're in pursuit of? Because it's obvious what you're in pursuit of to get to here. Yeah. There'll be a couple of things that you're in pursuit of, presumably now. One thing a lot of people say is happiness. That's been a regular thing. Yeah. But it's just to give that insight to see how those things change. Because there is stuff. The next level on the career ladder is
the next level on the career ladder is obviously there for the taking. Yeah. But it's like you say, it's not just about that work pursuit. No. I've got clients in mind that are targets that I would like to work with. Mm-hmm. But so from a personal point of view, I want to teach my little boy how to read. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be able to get to the end of the summer and for him to know his alphabet.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
That's
pretty
it.
basic stuff.
No, but it's
But that
ridiculous.
would make me happy.
It's ridiculous how, but mine's written down in that notebook over there.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, and there's some really minor things in there,
Yeah.
and there's some enormous things.
Oh, aye, absolutely.
Like, what's the most ridiculous thing? Like, if
I'm
the
not-
most ridiculous goal that's achievable.
I don't.
There's
I
what
don't
is-
ever think like that.
Really?
No. I very much. Well, I guess I might live in the present a bit too much, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world either. Living in the present. But yeah, I've got. So one of the things I try and say to the young people is, the education system forces you to have these kind of staged goals, and I don't know if you agree with it, but it's, you know, complete school, get the grades, go to college, complete college, get the grades, go to uni, or get a job that might be adjacent to that,
Yeah.
and do these things. But it's quite hard if your goals are 6 months, 12 months away from where you are now all the time. And one thing I try and encourage young people to do is have shorter term goals, so you
Yeah.
can win something every day,
Yeah.
and you can pick the positives up every day, and then you gain momentum. And one thing that the one thing a boss that I had said that made sense, everything else he said made no sense at all. And he was an unusual bloke, but I liked him. He just didn't help me. But he said, when you've got momentum going forwards, it's great and it's easy to maintain as long as you work on maintaining. If you've got momentum going backwards, it's the same. It'll keep going backwards unless you change it. So I like the idea of having those smaller goals. Today I'm going to do this. I'm going to write to every games development company in Teesside. Shout out to a young lad that I know is definitely watching this. He wrote to every games development company in Teesside and asked for work experience. You know, your goal for the day might be to find one more contact at that client that you want.
Yeah.
And take them for a beer. I don't know how you get down with business development. That might, you know, you've got your own ways, but do you agree? Does that make sense?
Yeah, having something small and bite-sized that you can kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we have regular reviews, of quarterly reviews, and we set ourselves targets. So from a works point of view, that's really practical because there is stuff in there which is, and I like really objective goals as well.
Yeah.
So sort of saying, oh, I want to be happy doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'd be like, well, what would make me happy? And I'd rather work on those little steps that would work, rather than just come up with some nebulous idea of something.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, what would do that? So I'd be like, well, you know, I'd be dead fit and I'd be having the best food. I'd be on holiday on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, these are the things. You know, the kids wouldn't be whinging, but we'd be having a cracking day.
You're getting right into that list though now.
But then that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
Ultimately, that would create happiness. So I think if you just went, oh, happiness, it's just too meh a concept for me. But if it was like that, that's what would do it.
I'm with you. And being in pursuit of those things forever is fine, I think.
Yeah.
As long as you're actually in pursuit of them, genuinely.
Yeah.
And you're chasing the things that, you know, I remember speaking to this young lad and he wanted to be an astronaut. And the school was really like, you'll never be an astronaut, son. And I'm saying that's not the right attitude. That, yes, it's going to be hard to be an astronaut. It's going to be hard to be a professional footballer. It was probably hard to be a solicitor, especially as a female. Like, but if he ends up handing the astronaut his helmet before he gets in the shuttle, because that's the path. Amazing. The answer is not to go, be realistic, son, be a mechanic. Because he's going to hate being a mechanic. Probably.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the one lad I met a couple of months ago was he wants to be an accountant. So the school sent him to a bank for work experience. That's not the same.
No.
He's not going to enjoy the bank. He's not going to enjoy sitting, you know, in Yorkshire Bank on the front counter learning how to, you know, push buttons when he wants to be doing something else. So I think you've got to be in pursuit of those things forever.
Yeah.
Or until you get them.
You can do it.
That's it. Last one down the camera, unfortunately, if you're quite happy to look right at the camera. It's hard. This one's a bit different. It's usually, the question is, what advice would you give to any 13 to 25-year-old job seeker anywhere in the country? So it's quite broad in terms of location, quite broad in terms of age. The things you need to go and do well. Now, I'm going to dial it back a bit.
I can answer that without even thinking.
Well, I want you to do it really just for the girls. I know it sounds bizarre, but this is what this is for. It's all about creating female role models.
Yeah.
So I want your 2 cents. What to 13 to 25-year-old girls who are looking to choose a career now do?
Yeah. So first thing would be pick your goals. Make sure that you've got something to work to, and get that ambition there, because that ambition will drive what you do. And then just focus on getting there, whether that means that you've got to pass your exams, whether it means that you've got to get through another year at school, whether it means that you've got to get through college. Try as hard as you can and just have that work ethic to get you there. And if there's barriers in the way, then you'll find a way around them. If you get to where you need to get to, it's just a question of work ethic and concentrating on what you need.
Excellent.
That's it.
That's awesome. That's it. Not bad for 50 minutes.
Yeah. God, is it?
Yeah, that means you've got to go.
Oh, I've got
we
to
usually
go.
finish with a sportsman's handshake. Are you quite happy with
I
that?
don't know this.
Put your hand up. Linda did later. She didn't.
Right,
know
okay.
that
Well,
either.
there you go.
But I'm so gutted because I forgot to do it with Emily. So
You'll have to go back and do it.
I might just film the handshake another time.
Get it done.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, look, I haven't stopped it because I need to get the logo in.